Gregor von Laschewski, and I'm talking today about Cloudmesh and how to install Cloudmesh on a virtual machine. In particular, we will be using the Future Systems machine called India, which is hosted at Indiana University. And those who are taking a course with us have access to this. Other people may be choosing different clouds for doing this kind of a work, but you can also try to enroll in our classes and conduct the material there while having access to the resources. So let's continue with the information. Our information is published on mycloudmesh.org/learning. And there you find the manual, which you probably are really familiar with. And one of the sections under Cloudmesh is about Cloudmesh setup. And in this particular section, please look for one that's called Quick Start for an OpenStack virtual machine. You have already probably learned how to start it on the desktop, so there's really not much difference other than that we have to really create first a virtual machine for running Cloudmesh on India. So let's go to the instructions. And in there, we have to first make sure that we set our environment variable to the one that is our username on the FutureGrid portal or Future Systems portal. So in my case, this is please use your username. We also want to set the project ID. So in my case, I may set the project ID to FG82. You have an own project ID. Please set it to the one that is appropriate for your class or for your project so that you can follow along with the instructions. So next, we want to test if we really can log in into the India machine. So let's just try to do that. And as you can see, as I have made here a small mistake, I have forgotten to type in SSH. And it will ask me to add this particular machine to my known hosts file. So I simply say yes. And now I am in that particular machine. In this particular machine, we want to make sure that we first load the module that's called Nova Client. We also want to make sure that we activate OpenStack through this particular command. We source the NovaStack RC file. And next we want to create a key pair that we will be using to log in into the remote machines once we have created an OpenStack. So let's just create a key pair and let's put it into our normal location. I'm pretty sure that this will result in an error because I probably have already a key. Oh, let's see, there's already a key that exists under this particular name. If you have not yet created a key, you can set up a key very easily via the SSH keygen command that we have documented in this particular web page. So other things that we need to be doing is we need to be creating a security group and add the security group to our users. So let's get back to the terminal and execute the commands that are necessary to do next. So as I mentioned, we have already the security groups added previously to our environment. If not, please add them by yourself now, the previous 4 commands. And I'm just testing now if they are there. They are there. And if they are not, please edit the 4 previous commands. Now we are ready to boot the virtual machine with the Nova client. And we do this with the boot command. And here we just copy the particular line, and as the user that we logged in here, the appropriate variables get expanded, and you don't have to do anything different than starting this command. So let's just press this and start the virtual machine. We now need to be monitoring the status. Let's find out the status field. It says build, and we need to be making sure the virtual machine is in an active status. This is typically done very fast, so let us figure out and show the status again. And we can see here, let me resize the window a little bit so that you can better see it. The status of the machine has been changed to active. So now it's possible to use a particular virtual machine, but before we can access it, we need to have a public IP address. So let's add a public IP address. So first we need to be creating one that we can use. That's what we do with Snobo floating IP create. And now please write down the IP address that you have obtained through this particular command, because we will be reusing it later. So take a piece of paper and write it down. I also put it into my environment variable, my IP, as we may actually use this later on. And so just go ahead and write it down. Naturally, you will have a different IP address, most likely from the one that I've just used. Now we add this floating IP to the virtual machine that we have created previously. And we can now show through the information for the virtual machine that there's indeed a second IP address listed. That is my public IP that I've associated with this virtual machine. Finally, we are ready to log in into the particular machine. That can be done via the SSH command, and as we have a key in our IDRSA location, we can use this particular key now. Here I use the my IP to log in. Now please use the password that we have used earlier. This allows us to now enter into the virtual machine, which we will be using in order to update the Cloudmesh program into it. Here we are logged in, and can now continue with the deployment of Cloudmesh. So let's see what we need to do first. We need to be updating our operating system and install also the Git tool, which we will be doing now. The execution of these commands will take a little bit time, so make sure that you be patient while waiting. So let's execute it. Let's update the operating system. And this gives me some opportunity to talk about why we are actually doing it in a virtual machine. You certainly do not want to affect your operating system, and therefore we install this particular Cloudmesh program in a virtual machine in order to keep the impact on your computers minimal. So here we just update the Git program. We previously updated the operating system, and this will be installing the program so that we can download the source code for Cloudmesh. It's good to keep in synchronization with our development, and we work here with the newest version. Let's now cd into the main directory, and instead of creating a directory, Git works in such a form that we create the directory as part of the Git checkout. So let me remove the directory, so don't do this particular step, but instead use the git clone command to check out the source code into the directory Cloudmesh. So the directory is now created, as you can see when I type in ls. Now let's cd into this, and here's all the source code for Cloudmesh. The next step in the installation requires the update of the network information in regards to India. India has some network differences to other OpenStack clouds that we fix with this particular script. If you're working on other clouds, you don't have to execute this command. Now install the system, and this will take quite a while because we will be installing a number of required updates to the operating system that we will be using as part of Cloudmesh. We have installed all the packages, so our install is completed, and we can now go ahead by installing a virtual environment onto this particular computer. This is further to isolate the dependencies on the software that we install. We recommend in Python to always work with virtualenv. This allows you to keep the system Python installation constant while you work on packages and software in a virtual environment that's managed, in our case, under the env directory. In order to activate the virtual environment, you have to say source /env bin activate. And as you can see now, our logo, or not the logo, but the prefix for our prompt has changed and includes the env. So this way we know that we are executing all these commands that are following now in the virtualenv and have an isolation from the system-based installation. So let's continue with our install process. We now change into the directory Cloudmesh, where we have included in that particular directory a command that's called install requirements. And this requirements program is a little bit different from the regular pip install, as it actually executes the requirements.txt file in a particular order, and that is helpful in case some dependencies exist that require Python packages to be installed in a variety of orders. For some IPython packages this seems to be necessary. So this process takes quite a while, and we can see some installations that are being done now, and Python packages that are being installed. Some of them are being C programs that are being communicated through Python, and we, for example, see a drawing program for blocks and diagrams that is being installed that we use. We see that we are using Sphinx for our documentation, some network programming library to access the remote networks, such as using SSH activities and processes. This program has a C backend that needs to be compiled. So we wait patiently on what's happening here. We install some console programs and documentation programs related to creating command line shells. Then we see we installed MongoDB libraries and also RabbitMQ. And some web framework that we are using for the deployment of Cloudmesh. OpenID providers, RESTful services, logging, nose tests, and then libraries to access clouds. In contrast to just using libcloud, our Cloudmesh frameworks interfaces natively with the OpenStack backend services. That has the advantage that we can inspect the information in OpenStack on a more thorough basis, rather than just being interested in starting and running OpenStack clouds. Time libraries are being installed that make time parsing easier and specification on the command line easier. And then pretty printing from tables is being installed, as well as password queries from the command prompt, IPython, and then also ZeroMQ. However, we ourselves do not use ZeroMQ. This is being used as part of another package that has apparently this particular dependency. Our preferred choice at this time is RabbitMQ that we use, and this may very well be also use ZeroMQ. This package is naturally written in a different language other than Python. So as you can see, it's being compiled with the GNU compiler, and we have to wait till it is being completely installed. So I believe we almost reached our goal. This whole process of installation Cloudmesh on this particular machine takes a little longer. The machine is a little older and doesn't have a solid state drive in it, so the access and the speed of installation is somewhat longer than maybe on your local desktop. So we almost completed. Yeah, there we are. And now we have installed all the requirements for Cloudmesh to be installed. So let's continue with setting up some configuration files that need to be present when we do an installation. That is being done via our new option. So we say install new. Now we can install Cloudmesh. The new program installs certain default configurations that are being used also as part of our compile process in order to make sure that everything works fine. We may actually change this in future so that this dependency will no longer be needed. Now Cloudmesh is installed, and it's important to possibly edit your Cloudmesh YAML file, which is one of the configuration files that we have created with the new command. So let's just edit it. You may want to add maybe your first name, so I'm adding here my first name. You may want to edit the last name, and so I am editing here my last name. You may want to specify your phone number so that the system knows also your phone number. So let me add that also. And then I'm adding the username that I have on, for example, future systems. And I use my username that I use there. So please add your username there. And you can also add it to the HPC account that you have on these machines. So let's save this. There's more information in that you can modify by hand. But there's also an easier way for us. We have certain clouds that we have already pre-configured. And on the machine in India that we are currently using, in order to do that, we naturally need to be able to log into that particular. So the one thing that we want to do is set up our Cloudmesh environment conveniently with the resources at Indiana University. For that, we need to be setting our environment to use the username that we have. Please use username. And next we need to be creating a key in this particular environment. And let's do that. And so it asks us for the default location. Just press return. And now it asks us for a passphrase. Please use a passphrase. And next we can go in and add this particular key to my SSH agent, so I don't have to punch in the password all the time. So already done. And next we need to be adding this particular key to the future systems portal. So what we need to do is we need to get this particular key. Then we need to log in into the Future Grid portal. So let's do that. Let's go to our My Portal account. And go to the SSH key section where we add a public key. And in here, we now passed this entire key. Make sure that you pass the correct section into the key section. And let's give it the same name that we have specified as part of the comment. And maybe we want to just press submit here. And the key is now listed here also in my key list. So now this key is available for login into India, which is needed for us in some cases. We need to also now create this particular user that has access to OpenStack, so we can fetch the user information from the machine India. Next, we want to create the user. And the information is now written into the Cloudmesh YAML file. As part of the Cloudmesh YAML file, we need to also conduct a configuration. We have this particular program created that does this. This will be putting certain modifications in it that deals with network configuration that are particular for India. If you have other OpenStack clouds, you don't need to do that. So the next thing will take some time. And we will be creating the Mongo database that is associated with Cloudmesh. Cloudmesh, the special case about Cloudmesh is that you can manage hundreds of virtual machines, and the status of these virtual machines are being stored into a database. This has the advantage that you can mine the database and at a particular time and react based on the status of the database. It also makes it possible to interact with the cloud with a variety of formats while communicating through the database directly, instead of directly going through the cloud operating system. Why is this important? Because we want to have a federated environment where not only one cloud is being managed, but multiple clouds. Certainly these clouds do not share the same database, and as part of this, you will be having the opportunity to integrate a federated view of clouds. The reason why this is important is because there will be, in foreseeable future, a lot of different clouds available for you, and the wrong strategy would be is to just buy yourself in one cloud strategy. Things could change, prices could change. So what Cloudmesh allows you to do is to federate multiple clouds and cloud offerings into one graphical user and programming interface, so that you can access them. The MongoDB creation that we have here manages these databases associated with a variety of clouds. And the creation of MongoDB journals system takes a little bit of time. So please be patient and wait till this particular task has been completed. So once the database has been reset and booted, it will ask us for a password that we will be using to log in into the portal at a later time. So please be choosing a password that is very strong and remembered. This password we will be using to log in into our Cloudmesh server. Now we have created all the prerequisites in order to run the server. And the server can now run with the following command: farb server start. So let's just start the server. This will also take some time as it starts up some of our backend services, including parallel programming services, RabbitMQ services, and so forth, which are needed in order to manage your tasks. Once that's done, the server have been started. So the server is now ready. And one of the things that we now can do is we can now log in into that particular machine. So I hope we remember which particular machine IP address we have used. So maybe we can do similar things as Nova list. And we have not authenticated to Nova here yet. So let's source user slash dot Cloudmesh, and then it's in the clouds, India, Nova SC. We have a certificate not deployed. Well, this is not about installing Nova on your machine. This is about Cloudmesh on your machine. So I should be having written down my IP address. So let me do the following thing. Let's go to India, and let's activate and let's source. As you can see here from the Nova list, this is my current IP address. I should have probably written it down more carefully. But now we can go ahead and look at for port 5000, and my Cloudmesh server is up and running. So this is really good. So we have now Cloudmesh up and running, and we can now explore Cloudmesh just as we would be able to do so when we are on a local machine. So let's just focus on how we can start a virtual machine. Let's just go to the VMS thing, and it says, oh, cloud not registered. Yes, we need to be registering first, for example, India as cloud. Here we have India, and we register it, and it will check if we have access to this. It says now registered and active. This means I can now go to virtual machines. But in order for me to start virtual machines on that particular cloud, here I, by the way, see my virtual machine on which I'm running this particular server, I have to define some image. I can say, okay, let's refresh the images on India. Here I'm interested in images maybe 14.04 on Ubuntu. I activate this. Then I need to be selecting a flavor also as part of this. I refresh the flavors. And remember, flavors don't change typically very much, so I do just a refresh probably very seldom. So I select a small image. Now I can go back to my virtual machine management. And here you see now the defaults set for Ubuntu and for clouds. And I have a plus button up here, which means I can simply add a new virtual machine while pressing the plus button. So let me just do this. And it takes some time to start the service up. And as you can see, it's in build state. One of the things that we deliberately did is we deliberately did not update this particular table in real time so that you have time actually to inspect it. Cloudmesh is about managing virtual machines and not just displaying the current status of a virtual machine. And it's about managing multiple machines, not just one machine. So one of the things that we can now do is we can press the refresh button to see the status that took place at the refresh time, and as you can see, this is active. This does not have yet a public IP address, so I can press on public IP address, and a new IP is being assigned to this particular machine. I can inspect the particular machine while going through the inspect button. And in contrast to libcloud and other tools, I see exactly what OpenStack protocol would return me when I ask a protocol question. So that's actually pretty good for me. So we have that taken care of. The next thing that we have is we can certainly delete it. What is not working at this time is our metrics interface that tells us how much resources is being used, and the login. The login only works currently on a desktop machine. So please don't use these tools. You will probably get some errors when you press them. So this is, let's just delete the virtual machine. So we press the delete button. Another thing that's not yet working is a deletion of multiple virtual machines. Furthermore, the other thing that's very interesting is you see here that another user is running a virtual machine. And you must ask, oh, why do I see the other user's virtual machine? Well, we have a project ID, and both users are under the project. And this is quite logical for large-scale distributed data management projects and large big data projects, where multiple users have to mine the data. They mine this under the same project, but they may actually run their same machines. However, please do not delete other people's machines with the delete button. You certainly are able to do this. We could be setting the policies in a different way to avoid this, but I believe that you are fair students and you don't have to delete other people's projects or virtual machines in the same project. So thank you very much. Next we will be talking a little bit about how to use Cloudmesh from the command line. Thank you.